everybody. Recording live from somewhere.
Hey, you are now watching Crumb TV.
Crumb TV.
Hey, we in Chicago, y'all, and y'all watching Crumb TV.
It's your brother, Timbuktu. I say.
You are now watching Crumb TV.
You in Chi-Town finest, you hear me? Inglewood, always up to no good.
Man, I'm telling my brother Crumb.
You're watching Crumb TV.
I'm your humble brother, and you are watching Crumb TV.
Reporting live from the Wild Hunters, Southside Chicago.
And you now watching Crumb TV.
And you're watching Crumb TV.
Crumb TV, baby. Hey.
Crumb TV.
What up, what up, what up? Y'all didn't expect this, did you? It's coming. So listen, man, before we get into this, man, I'm gonna introduce Crumb. I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to introduce him to his own channel. So make sure my levels are good on my music situation. Because I want to run tunes in my background. It'd be cool to run tunes in the background a little bit, so it's a quiet background. So anyway, I've never introduced Crumb ever on his own platform. So I take great pride and honor in introducing to you guys none other than a good brother from himself. Peace and light, good brother. How you feeling?
Peace and love, good brother. All is well. All is truly well. Thank you so much for making the time to introduce me and have me on. I'm humbled and honored to be with you.
That's what's up, brother. So listen, man, the chat is going crazy already. And protocol that I set up is I'm not gonna talk about nothing worth nothing until we get 100 viewers in here. Y'all already know. So go ahead, hit the share button. Let everybody know they should have their alarms already set when we go live. But in true fashion, brother, I'm gonna go ahead and let's talk. Let's get to the first responders, as I think you call them.
Yes.
Keep it in line with tradition. So first responders in the building. Let's see who we got here. Latasha. What's happening? 804. That's Richmond, I think.
That's right.
That's Richmond
804
VA.
stand up.
Richmond VA in the building. Most Sunshine 114. I think she's a regular on your channel, isn't she, bro? She come in every time, don't she? Big supporter.
She's a master student. She's a disciple. She's part of the divine family.
Islam. Cosmic Cutie. Never heard of this one. Peace and love to you. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, shout out Cosmic Cutie. She's out there in Texas, Fort Worth. Stand up.
What up, Texas? What up? Texas in the building. Peace and light, love, not ether, almighty. Frito. I know that's right, brother. Peace and light, non-ether. A lot of people don't know about that. That non-ether is a powerful thing. Never heard anybody break down non-ether other than Malachi York. Broke it down so beautiful. This is to you. Jen said, hey, Crumb chat. Peace and love to everybody in the chat, man. The chat. Hey, listen, we at 73 people. We need about 20 more before we start talking. So whatever y'all got to do, let's get the numbers up real quick. And this is something that I decided to do is like we need to establish protocol off the rip and say, listen, we need at least 100 people before we start talking. What's going to happen is we jump right into it usually. And by the time we hit our 200 person mark, y'all behind on information. Y'all came to class late. You ain't got your pen and your paper. You're not prepared for class. So we're going to start class a little bit later than usual, but we're going to get started, I promise you, in true fashion. Rodney Anderson, Mississippi in the house. Yale, Mississippi. Mississippi kind of going through it right now, man. Rodney, Mr. Anderson, check in with us, brother. Are you in those parts of Mississippi that's getting hit by the storm and the dirty water and all kind of stuff? Mississippi going back in time to the 1700s. No, this is true.
Right.
People went through it. You know, Flint went through it with the water crisis. Mississippi had a way, but it wasn't publicized. Mississippi is also dealing with the they about to go back into Jim Crow down in Mississippi, I heard.
Yeah, I'm sending my support to Mississippi. Stay strong.
For sure. Clarissa, peace and love. Deshaun Marshall, put a shirt on, man. I get in the gym now. This brother here.
Right.
Peace and love. 617 tuning in. I'm not. Is that New York? 617 or 619? I'm not sure. 617 is.
Yeah, brother Rondell, help us out. Where is the 617 at? We want to put some respect in your name.
For sure. Grand Rising Cherie F. I know Cherie always tapping in on your platform and mine. So peace and love to her, the L's and the Bays, the Wills and the Ways. Islam. Today is Friday. Happy Holy Day, sister. Today is Friday.
Happy Holy Day. Shout out to her. Hashtag unoccupied Turtle Island. She has a son who's doing great things. Shout out to her and her family. I see you. I love you. I appreciate you. Shout out Detroit. What up, though?
Peace and light. Now listen. I'm about to make a big deal about these next 4 or 5 people, right? Because these 4 or 5 people are represented, and I'm gonna show you why. Watch this now. First of all, peace and love to the good brother right here. Pen and pad crew in the building. Pen and pad crew ready. Pen and pad crew ready. They know what it is, man. Grab the pens and pads, man. Grab the pens and pads. Notes, man.
I just want to say, if you do know what it is and you're ready with your pen and pad, just know that you are a disciple. You are in true fashion a disciple. So shout out to all of y'all.
For sure. We're 87 people. I feel comfortable. 3 more. I feel real comfortable. There we go. 92. Okay. I feel a little more comfortable now about going live. Okay. We almost hit 100 people. And I'm telling you, that's something that's a standard for me. Anytime I go live on a network, I need at least 100 people tuned in before I start talking about anything worth talking about, because it's just ain't almost worth it. You know what I'm saying? We hit 100 people in 10 minutes. I know we're going to get at least 2K within an hour of showing it. So we need to make sure we shake the algorithms, everybody. Make sure y'all share this, y'all post, make sure you comment like crazy. Let's throw the algorithms off so we can get this information out there in true fashion. Okay. Peace and love. Yes. Happy Holy Day to all Muslims around the world. Friday is the day that that God was made into the flesh, and Friday was the day he left the flesh. For that day, that Friday is the holy day for all Muslims around the world. Islam. Now, before I go any further, since I got y'all attention now with all this chitter chatter, who ain't got their tickets yet? Raise your hand in the chat if you don't have your tickets yet. And I mean tickets to be there in person, because ain't nothing but a couple of them left. And then the live stream tickets is also, if they're not already selling, live streams will also be alive also. So make sure I get y'all tickets for this event, man. It's going down.
While we got that up, I just want to mention real quick just the itinerary. So we check in Friday at 5 o'clock. Because everybody's going to be getting their stuff. Because everybody's going to be getting their stuff together Friday, we're going to take it really light and easy Friday night. We have a pool and a hot tub in the back. So Friday night, we are going to be having a little pool party. It's not really a party. It's just kind of, we're going to hang out by the poolside Friday night while everybody gets in. So definitely get your bathing suits, get your beach bod ready, do your little sit-ups, whatever the case may be. Saturday, we'll have like a really light breakfast, something really easy. Remember, family, breakfast is meaning break your fast. So we don't want to jump up and just start eating. We want to just take it light, maybe a little bit morning yoga, something really cool. that morning we'll kind of just be getting everything prepared for lunch. We'll have our lunch. It'll be really nice. We're gonna have a little crew that get together to serve you and make sure you're comfortable. After lunch, we will do the official kickoff where the minister is going to set the room, the house, the state. He's going to set the state of Florida, the city of Orlando, and this little mini mansion that we're going to be in. It's all going to go on fire, family. So that's going to be Saturday, and then Saturday night, we'll break bread and just kind of close out from there. I'll do a little speaking. I'll open and close, just to make sure the minister has his time. And then, we'll go about our way Sunday morning. So it's going to be an all-day event on Saturday. We're going to have a little pool party Friday night. And for the content, it's going to be about Juneteenth. What is it going to be about? It's going to be about Juneteenth. If you can't make it, get your live stream tickets. It's really that simple. So that's all I really had to say about that. Thank you, brother.
I mean, y'all already know, if y'all came out to the time we did Jersey, still talking about it to this day. It was like 2 years ago, I think now. If you guys came out to Atlanta a couple times, the Crumb did down here in Atlanta. And of course, I think we did New York or whatever the case is. So listen, man, y'all already know the material. Y'all know how we do. Come on and kick it. 2-day event, man. Get those tickets, man. Get those tickets. And listen, if you can't make it, just share the flyer. That'd be huge. If you can't come out, just at least share the flyer on your social media platform. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes. Marcus Garvey exposed. Good brother, what made you want to do this topic right here? I'm ready for it too. I'm excited.
Well, I am your humble brother, Crumb. I go by the moniker the master student. That doesn't mean M.O.I is the master teacher. He's the high priest. And as a part of his position, it's kind of just walking us through history. Yeah, he is a master in the terms of not a preacher, a theologian. So he's really on the history side. And one thing he always says, if you are a disciple, is he talks about the Great Awakening. Family, one of the greatest times we've had in this country. We can talk about Africa when it's time to. We can talk about global history when it's time to. But in this country, in America, there was a great awakening. Respectfully, today, we're not even as advanced as we were at that particular point. You have Noble Jew Ali. You have W.F. Wallace Fard Muhammad. You have who else do you have? God dang it! Obviously, I'm not. Father Divine, Sweet Daddy Grace.
Yeah.
All of these people are in the exact same time period. You have some of the people who set the tone for what you have today. These are your true influencers. They would have been the ones who had 1 million followers if they were alive today, because they were charismatic. They were thought leaders. And one of the people who really set that off was Marcus Messiah Garvey. And his real name, as far as I know from what the high priest tells us, is his name. Yes, it really was Moses, Messiah. So we can go into the Great Awakening and then go into how Marcus Garvey fits into it. Because if we're going to tell the story, as the high priest says, you're going to have to tell the whole thing.
And listen, I definitely embody that. So as he was saying, y'all, there are 3 Great Awakenings: First Great Awakening, Second Great Awakening, Third Great Awakening. The First Great Awakening is kind of told throughout school is when the Pilgrims came. Now, the individuals that came over here were not the Pilgrims; they were on a pilgrimage coming over here. Or there was in Islam they say Hajj, making Hajj. They were coming over here. Now, why were they coming over here? To settle the settlements, the colonial period. No, actually, what happened was these were a group of Puritans. And the Puritans were really upset that this new version of the Bible called the Nova Testamentum was being published in Europe, and they were doing away with what was called the Geneva Bible, or the King Henry Bible. King Henry VIII, his Bible was going away, and the Puritans really, really loved that particular literature with the ushering of the new Nova Testamentum, which became the King James Version, what was being donated to him. A lot of the Puritans signed a petition. The petition, unfortunately, didn't pass. They heard about the opportunity to go to this newfound land over across the pond. So these Puritans went on what was called a pilgrimage. You had the Pilgrims, you had the Brownisters, you had the Quakers, which were the three main groups coming over to North America. That was called the First Great Awakening. William Penn was an intricate individual in establishing Pennsylvania with the First Great Awakening. The Second Great Awakening was also a major religious movement in America. What we're focusing on is the Third Great Awakening. There was also a Fourth Great Awakening. So particularly with the Third and Fourth Great Awakening, this was around a time between the 1850s all the way to the 1980s, right? And this was when your very charismatic Black preachers, leaders came out of that movement. Sweet Daddy Grace, Father Divine, or the forerunners for Timothy Drew. Marcus Garvey, however, came along a little bit later as being notable for North American history. And we'll get into that in a second as well. Let's talk about Third Great Awakening for 1 second. The Third Great Awakening refers to a historical period proposed by William G. McLaughlin that marked by religious activism in America history and spans to the late 1850s to the early 20th century, which is the 1900s. It influenced Protestant denominations and had a strong element of social activism. This is what the activism came from. A lot of these social groups, and the reason a lot of these Negro groups had a lot of a major religious overtone to them. Moorish Science Temple, Islam, FOI, Fruits of Islam, Islamic, the Hebrew Israelites, notable back then, not as Hebrew Israelites, but as the Old Canaanite Temple, and a lot more other groups grew out of this religious fashion. This is where El Malik Shabazz comes from, out of the Nation of Islam. Nation of Islam core, at its core, started as a 501c nonprofit religious organization, the same as the Moorish Science Temple. But let's read on with this right here. It was affiliated with social gospel, the social gospel movement. And Crum, I think you touched on this before, with a lot of our jazz and hip hop comes out of this too. From a lot of Negro singing. Hold on. My throat. What I'm learning is this is what happened to a singer or a speaker. Need to boil some tea, some ginger. What say you, Crum?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to be 1,000,000% transparent. As a master student, I go through the archives and, I study the master teachers. You are the only one who I've ever bear witness that even goes into this. These great awakenings are huge. This is your first, where now you're going to see after the child sacrifice being Trayvon Martin, and then you see a lot of these social movements like Black Lives Matter. This was that first type of thing where you see a huge social movement. Martin Luther putting those 92 theses or something like that on the doors of the church, these huge social movements where we all start waking up. This is the beginning of it, and Marcus Garvey plays an instrumental part in it, but we don't tell the whole story. I think that's why this video is important.
Oh, for sure. Hold on. Something in the chat. My grandmother spoke of them highly. I thought they were pimps at first. Well, we're talking about the preachers and the ministers of Third Great Awakening. We're going to deal with that. Let's keep that note right there. And I'm going to show you what she's talking about. Somebody said, yeah, the Old Canaanite Temple. That's the one that Noble Drew Ali went to resurrect. And as we go through it, you guys are going to see a lot of religious undertones to a lot of these movements. And you're going to see why. If you've ever sat through a meeting or whatever with the Moorish Science Temple, or went into studying with the Hebrew Israelites, everything feels like church because these movements come from a church type society. Let's continue real quick. New grouping emerged, such as Holiness Movement, Nazarene, Pentecost Movement, Jehovah's Witnesses, come out of this movement, spiritualism. Now this group right here is very intricate, interesting too. This group, I'm gonna show you later, is what Madame Blavatsky brought this to New York in the late 1800s. Okay, the lemon, I never heard this one right here. Christian Science, which we all should know about Christian Science. People like Tom Cruise. What's his name? Farrakhan, and a lot of brothers in Nation of Islam sign off on. I've never looked into it before myself personally, so I don't even know what it is. Do you know anything about this? The Christian Society?
Yeah, a little bit. The guy's name is Hubbard or something like that. He is he's a master student of Aleister Crowley. I'm not sanctioning any of it. A lot of it is weird, but these are the great awakenings of new thoughts coming to the forefront.
For sure. And what we want to show y'all, family, is how just the movement of the fourth and third Great Awakening. A lot of things like the African Southern Negro League and the African Christian movement and stuff like that, Pentecostal, different denominations came out of these awakenings is what we're trying to show you. And there's a reason I'm showing you this. Now I'm going to show you what the sister was talking about earlier. Father Divine. For those who have never seen Father Divine or don't know who the hell Father Divine is, we're going to go on Father Divine. We're going to cover Sweet Daddy Grace real quick. Father Divine, also known as Reverend M.J. Divine, was an American spiritual leader from about 1907. This is the end of the third Great Awakening, going to the fourth Great Awakening, to 1965. His full self-given name is Reverend Major Jealous Divine. He was known as the Messenger. Does that sound familiar? Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Farad Muhammad, known as the Messenger. And then this is prior to this. Now, this is 1907. Okay, at this time, there's no Timothy Drew yet. Okay, and we're going to read later who he influenced. He founded the International Peace Missionary Movement, formed its doctrine, and oversaw it grow from a small and predominantly Black congregation into a multiracial international church. Due to his ideology, he considered himself to be, many consider him to be a cult leader. Father Divine claimed to be God. And we can stop right there and understand where Farad Muhammad, the idealism of Farad Muhammad and Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where it comes from, of them being kind of like Christ incarnate. Same as the Pope. The Pope is the vicar, which is Christ incarnate, or the 5% nation, gods of the earth. This was the first God of the first Black movement. It was not Clarence 13X. He had numerous contributions towards his followers' economic independence and racial equality. Now, see, this is what I want to focus on real quick. He was dropping jewels the whole time about racial equality. Before 1965 even got here, integration, he was already teaching racial equality. And for us Negroes, he was teaching us entrepreneurship and economic independence, already on the table, well before Marcus Garvey got here. All right. He was a contemporary. That means people thereafter modeled themselves after him. He was a contemporary of other religious leaders such as Daddy Grace, Charles Harrison Mason, Noble Jew Ali, Jane F. Jones, Wallace Farad Muhammad, and also Elijah Muhammad, and also Jim Jones. All got their swag from him. All of them.
Come on.
Now, who was not mentioned yet? Marcus Garvey was not mentioned. Why was Marcus Garvey mentioned? Marcus Garvey wasn't even thought of in America at this particular time. Marcus Garvey was a up-and-coming philanthropist for Jamaica. And we'll get to him in a second. But I want you to know that Marcus Garvey didn't really fit into this divine and national movement, as the Moors call it. This was a divine and national movement. Anytime you see the word divine, that alludes to religion. Now, let's go to Daddy Grace real quick. Daddy Grace. This is another one. And Daddy Grace is a little bit different, okay? was the founder of the first bishop and predominantly African-American denomination in the United House of Prayer for All People. He was a contemporary religious leader such as Father Divine, religious leader Noble Ali, religious leader Ernest Holmes. Many of his followers claim miracle acts of faith healing while attending service, and others saw his ministry as a sign from God to emulate the return of Jesus Christ. So as you can see, these movement by these Negroes were pretty serious, and they had millions of followers, hundreds and thousands of followers. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the forerunners, the real forerunners, they call them, prior to Noble Ali. And there's a whole lot of information here about him, how the FBI even then was dealing with him, filed records. His name is George Baker, alias God. FBI called him God too. So later you see, this is 1912. Later you see J. Edgar Hoover telling you that the whole purpose of the FBI is to prevent the rise of another black messenger or black God, Messiah.
Black Messiah.
That's it. And I hope this started to make sense to y'all too. Go ahead, bro.
Now, we know that the thing about Marcus Garvey is he was able to consolidate more of our people than anyone else prior to him. 65% of every Negro, so-called, in America was a card-carrying UNIA member. Now, prior to him, Marcus Garvey, you're going to see his forerunners being, Sweet Daddy Grace, and the Jealous God. These at the time are going to be the original mega churches. These of that time would have been your Creflo Dollars. Now, when you're dealing with Creflo Dollar, he changed his name. Let me just, before we move on really quickly, I wanted to ask the listening audience, family, in the listening audience, does anybody know what Creflo Dollar changed his name to? His name is not Creflo Dollar anymore. He had his name changed. Anybody in the listening audience, what did Creflo Dollar change his name to? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. All right, so it looks like we don't have any takers. His name, Moneybag McGee. Oh, Crumb, these people sound like pimps. Sweet Daddy, the Jealous God, Moneybag McGee. Thank you. Thank you.
That is not his name.
It wasn't his name before. You can't make this up. I digress, brother. I yield the floor.
This is Sweet Daddy Grace right here. The first Moneybag McGee. Look at his nails, man. Look at this guy.
Whoa! Been pimping since Big Pimping.
Wow.
Pimping in the bloodline.
Now, Now, what y'all don't realize is, hold on, let's go here. Look at this one. Who does he remind you of? With the hairget on and the robe on, and it remind you of nobody?
You look like a sultan almost.
Okay, so now watch this. Watch this, because I want everybody to understand this picture. Hold on. And then we're going to move on to Marcus Garvey. I promise you. I promise y'all. It look a lot like this. With the strange guards on, the strange attire on, ain't nobody seen it before. And y'all have to realize that these people were coming out of 1865. Slavery, discrimination. They never heard nobody talk to them the way that these gentlemen were talking to them. They've never seen anybody dressed this way before. This is the early 1900s. This ain't too much further back from slavery or chattel slavery, but slaves being free. I want y'all to see that. The strange attire with the robes, but we just talked about how Noble Drew Ali and everybody else were the contemporaries modeling themselves after Sweet Daddy Grace and Father Divine. So in order to be a Negro leader guy, you have to be a charismatic person, very charismatic, smart. You have to exalt yourself to some level of divinity for people to follow you. And when I tell you, you can go through all the records and look at all the Negro leader people, and they all emulate this exact same thing. They're charismatic, great rhetoric, and they elevated themselves to some type of level of deity in order for people to follow them, in order for people to, you know what I'm saying, to really get into the lessons. They had to appear to be somewhat divine. This guy had millions of followers, thousands of followers. Like he would have had a blue check. He was on Instagram. He didn't have a blue check.
Right.
So I just want to set y'all up for the rest of the conversation to understand. Now we talk about Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey being the harbinger or the forerunner. Now you have a little bit of historical meat to go back on and say, well, wait a minute. Who preceded Marcus Garvey? Who preceded Noble Drew Ali? And we're going to talk about more individuals that preceded them with Pan-African, Al Sharpton, exactly. Charismatic leader. Yep. Absolutely, Al Sharpton hair. But, you know, that was a thing back then to slick your hair back with grease or whatever monkey grease they called it. So let's get into the man of the hour. Let's get into the man of the hour. Marcus, what his mama called him, Moses, not Messiah. Okay. He can't be Moses in the Messiah. He got to be one or the other, because Moses was not the Messiah himself. All right. Moses foretold of the Messiah coming, not that he was the Messiah. All right. This is just the harbinger. This is the one that a lot of people say that prepared the way for Noble Drew Ali. I've heard that before. Let's talk about him. Marcus Moshe. That's his real name. Moses. See right there? Moshe. Marcus Moshe Garvey. His mother gave him that name. Junior. He was a junior. Was a Jamaican political activist. Keep in mind, the whole time we talking, I'm going to keep referring to politics and how politics played a huge role in a lot of Negro movements. NAACP to the establishment of places like Howard University, not Clark Atlanta, the other Spelman University. Always politics involved. White lobbyists coming into the late 1800s, they were called abolitionists. Later, they were called lobbyists. Same thing. They wasn't for Negroes being free per se, more the political game behind it. Yeah. He was a founder and president of the UNIC, which was known as the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, is a Black nationalist fraternal organization founded by Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican immigrant to the United States, and Amy Ashwood Garvey. The Pan-African organization enjoyed, so on and so forth. So the UNIC, commonly known as the UNIA, through which he declared himself Provisional President of Africa. Provisional President of Africa. That's what Marcus Garvey declared himself to be, brother. Anything to say on that before we move forward?
No, sir. Please continue.
Okay, cool. So how he claimed himself to be the provisional president of a whole continent, who knows, right? Ideologically, a Black nationalist and Pan-Africanist, his ideas became known as Garveyism. Now, who today proclaims louder than anybody that he's a Pan-Africanist? He's a Garveyite. Who promotes more than anybody the idea of Garveyism in the so-called conscious community? None other than this guy right here. I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't even want the algorithm to pick his name up. Y'all see who he is. This guy here pushes the agenda on the Black think tank when it comes to all things Pan-African. Anything dealing with Pan-Africanism, this brother is all over. He pushes the narrative that we're from Africa. He pushes the narrative that he's a Garveyite. He pushes that narrative. So as we go along today talking about Marcus Garvey, y'all keep him in mind, please. And I'm not gonna speak. It's like Candyman right now. I ain't gonna say his name at all. So, but y'all see what I'm talking about, right? Now, back to Mr. Garvey. It became known as Garveyism. Garvey was born in a modern, prosperous. He wasn't poor. He didn't come from Centerville, Georgia. He didn't come out of Newark, New Jersey. He didn't come out of North Carolina, the state of North Carolina. Okay, he didn't come out of none of that stuff. He wasn't even from America. Marcus Garvey had no affiliation to anything going on in America when it comes to the poverty and the just the wrongdoing of a lot of Negroes in the South. Say like in Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia or Arkansas or the Carolinas. This was in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This is when they was really lynching niggas everywhere. Garvey didn't have a thing to come to the South. Where did Garvey go? Do you know, brother, when he came here to America? You know where he went to?
Well, only because I've studied under you, New York, and just because you have prosperous highlighted, I would even say, dare I say, an elitist. Continue, please.
Now, because it's a good word to elitist. Now, because of his ego, and we'll get into in a minute, his ego and him being what the brother just said. He bumped heads with a lot of American Negro leaders, such as W.B. Du Bois, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But not just W.B. Du Bois, the grandfather of Green Thummism, of agriculture, George Washington Carver. A lot of people had problems with this dude, man, when he came to North America, and we'll deal with that in a minute. So while we're talking about Marcus Garvey, keep in mind, and I don't know how many of you are, but the majority of us on this live are from North America. Nobody born in Jamaica that I know of here. And if you want to talk about Jamaica, then next time we'll do our presentation on Jamaica too, to give you the insight about Jamaica. But Garvey was born in a moderately prosperous Afro-Jamaican family in St. Ann's Bay. He was an apprentice into a print trade as a teenager. Working in Kingston, he got involved in trade unionism. What is that? Trade unionism. Okay, so he was for the people. Got it. Before he left. Go ahead.
Well, hold on. I would say he is for the people, just like Mark Zuckerberg was for the people. All he did was create one of the original social media platforms. Continue, please.
Nah, hold on. You're right. That definitely deserved that too. Garvey was born in the moderately prosperous African. Okay, so let's get to the meat and potatoes. After he returned to Jamaica, he founded. Let's go back. Working in Kingston, he got involved in trade unionism. Before he lived briefly in Costa Rica, he lived in Panama and in England. I want to focus on England for just 1 second. All right. Why would Garvey go to England? Because the island of Jamaica, as it did back then, as it does today, still belongs to the British Crown. Everybody that was a part of the British Islands, which they call today, their education, their traditional, the churches, the clergy, everything came out of Europe. All right. And of course, Spain influenced and Portugal influenced a lot of that stuff too. But Spain and Portugal was mostly South America. But let's talk about the adjoining islands up north. Europe had a big Britain had a huge influence on it. Go ahead, brother.
I wanted to just clarify for the family, because I think a lot of the family, we kind of only know history up after 2012 when a lot of us woke up. But anybody born in Jamaica prior to 1967 is not American. They are British. That's why he was able to go to Britain without a passport, family. Family, we can't do this new school-ish where we only talk about things that happened after Trayvon Martin died. Prior to 1967, that was not America. That was Great Britain. It was a colony of Great Britain, and those people were British subjects.
Facts.
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Facts. So, England. Keep in mind, England. I was wondering who was in England, or who was even over there that he might have came across. And this is prior to him, the UNIA, because he went to do that first. Then he returned back to found the UNIA after he visited Costa Rica, Panama, and England. After he returned to Jamaica, he founded the UNIA in 1914. In 1916, he moved to the United States and established a branch in New York. He didn't go to Georgia, didn't go to Alabama, didn't go to Mississippi, didn't go to Arkansas, South Carolina, North Carolina, or even Texas. None of those places at all. He went right to Harlem. Now, why would he go to New York? New York, back then, as it is today, is the #1 state or territory with the largest island population there is. He went to where his people were. Marcus Garvey went to where his people were. His people were not the Negroes in the South at all. And we're going to see that later with W.E.B. Du Bois and a lot of other individuals who had problems with him trying to usher Negroes back to Africa. When we knew that we're from here, we're not African booty scratchers. Like we knew that, and I say that jokingly because growing up, if you called me or anybody that I knew African booty scratcher, there was a fight because we just inherently knew that we were from Africa. But Garvey came with an idealism that we have to return back to Africa, and a lot of that African diaspora, they call it the African diaspora, is a worldwide collection of communities descended from the native Africans or people from Africa, predominantly in the Americas. The term most commonly refers to descendants of Black, West, and Central Africans who were enslaved and shipped to the Americas. Nothing to do with you or us, rather. Not all of us.
Could I bring this up? Because W.E.B. Du Bois had his feet in the dirt. He had his ear to the streets. He was talking with the people. After 1865, after Emancipation Proclamation, which the minister is going to go into that during Juneteenth, family, just like this story isn't what you think it is, that story isn't what you think it is. After you got free, Abraham Lincoln asked yo African ass, you want to go back to Africa? So-called Negro said no. They already said no. The people have spoken. And then Johnny come lately, respectfully, Marcus Garvey comes, oh, don't you want to go back to Africa? We just told Abraham Lincoln we don't want to go back to no Africa. Stop it. Why do y'all keep asking me that? I said no. I'm sorry, please continue.
Absolutely. You got 100% right. I mean, but it's a lot of those little stories that are also told like that, like Harriet Tubman, who never came past Maryland to free anybody. And I was sharing it with somebody the other day. It was like Harriet Tubman didn't come to nowhere near Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi. What a real grind was. She never came down, and she was in Maryland and Baltimore. Why was she in Maryland and Baltimore freeing Negroes? Because slavery was all over the colonies. It was everywhere. Lincoln just made an announcement to free the Negroes in the South. He thought about freeing the Negroes in the North, but like, wait a minute, who's going to do the butler service and the cooking and the cleaning? Because we're not going to do it, right? So we have to go into the whole entire story. It's not the parts that make us look good. And this is a problem I have with a lot of movements is they make the leader of these movements, they try to what do you call it? I forgot the word they use, but they try to turn them into like this messiah. You know, they romanticize them as leaders. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. I'm talking about Garvey. Sorry about that. So back to Garvey. So he went to New York because that's where everybody from the islands went to this day. The largest population of Puerto Ricans, largest populations of Jamaicans, largest populations of any other ethnicity group is in New York. So that's where he went to, respectfully, New York. He didn't go to the South. To the South. Who say? Get off the slave narrative. That's not right. That's what we're saying, brother. That's what we're saying. But it is the narrative of Garvey's people, because the large majority, and then we're gonna get into it now, because now y'all gotta make me teach now. Damn it. African slave trade. Because a large majority of those Africans were brought to this territory right here, not up here. They were brought here. So that's not our story as a collective. Let me get a better map. Go ahead, brother.
Well, you know, one thing you pointed out to me is the egotistical entitlement. When you say America, here in this country, we try to paint the picture that there's only one America. Family, I want to ask the listening audience, how many Americas are there?
Great question.
Because y'all just try to paint the picture that it's one.
Great question. Great question. I'm only giving y'all 20 seconds. Y'all better know that. Okay, yeah, we need to see some threes in there. I'm about to unfollow everybody. Somebody put 2. Who put 2? Oh Lord, who about to get you? Who about to get you, RZA? Who about to get you? Oh my God! But it's okay, and we're not picking, because we have to start here. This is right. So thank y'all for being honest. And somebody said they had no idea, which is also fair assessment. See, so let's start there then. All right, let's start there. That way nobody's confused. We don't want to con anybody. Okay, so just wait a second. Let's put in the Americas. The Americas. Here we go. All right. We don't mind teaching y'all. I don't. And Brother Crom don't mind teaching y'all either. So this right here, family, these are the Americas. North, Central, and South. This territory is called Turtle Island because it looks like a turtle. This is a turtle's tail. This is 1 foot head going this way right here. This is Turtle Island. Off the coast of Georgia, they're called the Sea Islands. It's a whole lot of little small islands called the Gullah Coast right here. These are more islands right here called the British Islands right here, smaller islands right here, right? You come a little further this way right here, you have what's called Cuba, or Cuba, they call it now. You have Rich Port, or they call Puerto Rico today. In this whole area right here, you had the individuals called the Olmec. They come out of Veracruz, come out of Central America. These are the original people. There's no other people older than Olmecs coming out of Central America right here, people. Out here, you have Hawaii. Right here, you would have had the island of Mu. It's sunken. It's gone now. Just like the invisible island in the Bermuda Triangle, it's sunk already. A lot of these smaller islands broke off from big islands, right? So these 3 are the Americas right here. So when we say the President of America, understand they're talking about the United States Republic, which is a corporation, not the entire all 3. The entire all 3 is just like calling yourself an African. Which country in Africa are you a part of? You can't say, oh, I'm an American. Which one? What do you mean? Are you a North American, Central American, or South American? Well, who occupies Central America? Mostly our cousins or kindreds called the Mexicans, as we call them today, right? South America, you have Argentina, you have Brazil, Venezuela, so on and so forth. What people occupy this territory prior to the Europeans? This is the part that's confusing all of us so-called Black people in America. We have no idea that we occupied all of this. Our kinfolks, today we call the Mexicans, occupied here. These are the Toltec, the Incans, the Mextecs, all the way down. We get it? These are the Americas. Now we understand that these are the Americas. Now we understand the question when somebody tells you that the Africans were brought out of Africa to Americas. Your following question should be, which America? When?
Thank you.
And which America were they brought here? They're talking about the British colonies, which we know as the 13 colonies. Man, that was so later after the fact. The British were so fucking far behind. The British got in on the last couple of years of trading individuals or bringing individuals out of Africa. And that's why this, let me show you something. That's the reason, hold on. That's the reason this little line is so small right here, because it was so insignificant number of people they brought to North America, they didn't even fucking count it. And what they counted was this right here. This is what happened. Because at the time that they were bringing Negroes supposedly out of Africa, there was nothing for them to do here yet. Not yet. Cotton don't come to the 1800s. 1808, they outlawed the export or import of people from Africa. It's outlawed. Like it was
Correct.
a law of the sea. If we catch you with niggas on the boat, we're going to lock y'all up and set them free. Outlaw. So 1808, there were no more Negroes coming to America. How many were brought to North America, they say? Millions. A lie. That's a lie. So let's debunk that and let's get it out of our minds right now that any part of you came out of Africa. And this is nothing against our African brothers and sisters, but they know that also. That's why ain't not one fucking canoe been over here yet to get you and to bring you back. Right. Canoe and the spear come to get you since you've been brought over here because you're not from there. Now, the kinfolks down here, they're definitely from Africa. And they know that. The Haitians know that they are Shango worshipers. And what the French, this French right here, French Caribbean, the French brought the Shango worshipers over here. And the French on accent called it juju. And they call it voodoo. And they brought these people over to Haiti and brought them on up in here to what's called Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi later on. That's why in Louisiana is a high population of what we call Voodism or Voodoo right there in Louisiana because they were brought from the islands here. Marcus Garvey skipped all of this right here and went right up here because everybody from here, I don't know why, for what reason they want to go right here to New York. Whether you're Cuban or whether you're Puerto Rican or whether you're Dominican or whether you're Jamaican or whether you're Haitian, the large number of people goes to Jamaica. That's where they go. They go to New York. Forgive me, New York. So now that we understand that, I'm going to show y'all one more thing that we're going to move forward. Now that we understand that the way they taught us about Africans out of Africa to the Americas is not only is it false information, it's misleading information. Who taught you that you from Africa? Who gave us the out of Africa theory? I'm going to give you the individual person name. Write them down. Him. He was the first and the only person at that time to teach out of Africa theory. This is the father of Pan-Africanism right here. That the teachings of Pan-Africanism. And I don't mean Pan-Africanism as an organization, but the idealism that you come out of Africa. Franz Boas, the father of modern anthropology. Now, following him, you get Dr. Leakey. And Dr. Leakey talks about Zanthropus, the oldest supposed Homo sapien out of Africa. So the idea implanted in your head is a bunch of pseudoscience. You get Franz Boas. You get what's your boy name with the dealing with evolution?
Darwin.
Pseudoscientists. Who else? German scientists, for instance, Johann Blumenbacher, Samuel Morton, and so on and so forth. The idea you coming out of Africa was propagated by individuals not even from Africa. You can't find not one Negro philosopher or anthropologist at that time that was talking about Africa. That was later, when you get years later in like the 60s and 70s, you get Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben Joseph, rest in peace to everybody, and Chancellor Williams and so on and so forth, talking about the destruction of a black civilization. And they came with that information later. All right. But if you want to think you from Africa, that's cool. It's cool. Just study France Boas first, and then let's circle back on the conversation about those slave ships, because I don't rock with that. Now, what you may be mistaking the transatlantic slave trade for is this right here. The second Middle Passage was known as domestic slavery. Now, domestic slave trade is what affected us the most. When I say us, the so-called Negroes, that's when you start seeing auction for Negroes for sale stores. And those pictures you've been seeing, when they say that Negroes for sale, and they look like Native Americans, because that's who they're selling after the 100-year war. See, America was in a state of war from the time of 1619 up until 1965 against these so-called Aborigine individuals in North America. The internal slave trade in the United States, also known as domestic slave trade or second Middle Passage. This is the movie 12 Years a Slave, when the brother was in New York shopping with his family, and then they took him down to DC to play the violin, and they got him drunk and threw him in the chambers, and they took his ass from DC all the way around Florida, which looks like they're coming from Africa, up into New Orleans. This is 12 Years a Slave, the movie. And when he got off the boat, he was rubbing his eyes, and you didn't pay attention to that boat was a skiff, not a slave ship. See, the word ship and boat, y'all don't know maritime law, maritime operations, so you think they're the same thing. No, this was just a cargo boat or cargo ship. If you pay attention to the movie 12 Years a Slave, when he got off the ship into New Orleans, there were like barrels of whatever. There was like stacks of cotton, and it only about 12 of them got off. And then they went to one of these little auction stores right here, and then that's when the white man sold him off. Told him to play the violin and sold him off. Toward a woman from her family. See, this is the second Atlantic slave. This is the second domestic slave trade, second Middle Passage, excuse me. This is the one that tore us up here in North America. They brought a lot of brothers and sisters from the north, and they brought them down around Florida into New Orleans and Mississippi into Alabama. This is when the South was known as King Cotton, when the cotton had exploded. Go ahead, brother.
W.E.B. Du Bois was trying to tell you that, not you, brother. I'm just saying it to the listening audience and those who are going to catch this later. Sure. W.E.B. Du Bois was trying to tell you that because he was here during that time. His family knows that story. Marcus Garvey won't hear. Marcus Garvey was a rich boy from down south in the Caribbean. He came up here telling his story. I yield the floor.
Yeah. I'm sorry, bro. Hold on. Yes. So let me pick up where I stopped. I'm sorry about that. And the American slave trade involved the domestic slave trade, enslaved people in the United States. It was also known as the antebellum period. Do you know what else was happening during the antebellum period? This is when white folk was dressing all up. Look, see, Hollywood has the ability to amalgamate everything that happened in history and make it look like one situation. The 1800s is so intricate to supposed black history in America, you can unravel a lot of the lies when it deals with the slave trade as far as North America is concerned, not Central and South America, people. Listen to what I'm telling you. Central and South America been under slavery since the Spaniards had toppled the Moors in Spain, and they received what was called Intercartera Cavina in order to conquer the lands over here. So slave trade been going on for Spain and Portugal for a long time. All right. This right here is. Go ahead, brother.
Minister, because you're in your bag right now, and I just want to make sure that we give you your flowers. Family, when we say the whole slavery thing, we're referring to the antebellum period. And I just want you, by a vote of 666 versus 777. 666 means yes, I know about it. 777 means this is the first time I've heard about it from the high priest. If you never heard of the antebellum period, when we're talking about slavery, if you never heard it, press 666. If you have heard it, press 777. And I was talking to somebody and they said, yeah, I heard the minister talking, but I don't know. Is he trying to say slavery never happened? I said, he's talking about the antebellum period. Anybody who has ever questioned the minister, the high priest, I asked him, have you heard about antebellum? And overwhelmingly, the response is no. On Juneteenth in Orlando, Florida, the minister, because it's just so much, family. The minister has a huge issue. How the hell are you going to squeeze 1,000 years of history into a 1 hour live? He can't do it. So he's going to take a day. He's going to bring the pens and the pads, and he's going to walk you through history. All the things that Marcus Garvey them never explained to you, that you never got, at school. We're going to go through that during the Juneteenth lecture. The minister's in his bag, and I just want to make sure he gets his flowers because most people haven't heard of this before. I yield.
And for good reason, a lot of people don't study or haven't been told to study or don't know about the antebellum period itself. Just like a lot of people don't study the Reconstruction era. They think the Reconstruction era was a bunch of construction workers rebuilding Atlanta. No, y'all. That's not what the Reconstruction era was about. That's not even what the Freedmen's Bureau was about. All right. So when we go study the Freedmen's Bureau, the Reconstruction era, and the antebellum period of the South, then we have a better understanding. It was most significant after 1808 when the importation of slaves were prohibited. Historians estimate that 1 million slaves were taken by force in a forced migration from the upper South. Look at the word. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong thing. Forced migration. Now, there were 3 great migration periods from the South to the North. And watch how I tie the story into what you already know about slavery in the South, right? Maryland and Virginia to the territories, then new states of the Deep South, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Texas. All right. Watch this now. Pay attention to this. They are calling it that millions of slaves were taken into forced migration, not on those slave ships. Some did come by way of what's called skiffs and schooners. If you don't know what a skiff or a schooner is, look it up. Matter of fact, man, hold on. Let me. I'm not even gonna show y'all. I just want to get a brother, and I've heard mixed reviews about the brother, whatever the case is, and that's fine. But I'm a proponent of the brother's information, and I think the brother put out great information. He does do research, due diligence. So let me just drop a bomb. Shouts out to the good brother Dane Calloway, man. That brother is doing the work. And again, I mean, if you feel kind of way about the brother, that's cool. But this brother is doing the freaking work, man. Schooners and skiffs are not slave ships. They're not. Anywho, forced migration, 3 migration periods that happened in America. The first migration period you already know about is called the Trail of Tears. There was a forced migration period. The second great forced migration was in the 1920s. The third great migration, or what they're calling the migration period for these millions of so-called Negroes, was in the 1960s. Anybody, matter of fact, let me go to the chat real quick. Go to the chat. Anybody in the chat got relatives in Chicago? Anybody from Chicago? Anybody from Chicago, put 666. Anybody from Chicago, put 666. And I don't know any of these people that about to put it in the chat. I don't know them personally, but watch how I prove my point. 3 great migrations. The Trail of Tears, we know about that one. And the Trail of Tears was what? Jackson, Oglethorpe, and Duval moving Negroes, mainly the Yamansi, the Yamacraw, the Coweta, moving them out of Georgia over to Alabama, and some came down to Florida, and they joined the Miamians, which was a tribe, not a party city. The Miamians is an Indian tribe out of that place. Now, later, the Miamians and the Seminoles were forced migrated from Florida by water up to Louisiana, all the way to Oklahoma. Go look it up. Now, everybody from Chicago, listen to me close. If you have a grandma, great grandma, auntie, uncle, cousin, nephew that's older, where they from? Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia. Guarantee you. I'll put $1,000 on it right now in your cash app. I'm telling a lie. Anybody with older relatives in Chicago, I guarantee you they're from Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, or Georgia. Guarantee you. This was the third Great Migration in the 60s. Alabama, thank you. Thank you. See, we ain't got to go far. We just got to talk to grandma and them. We ain't got to put no spit on no Q-tip and send it in no mail. We ain't got to put no blood on no Q-tip. Go talk to your grandma. I know it. I know they are. Now, if you had a chance to talk to your grandma and them and your great-grandma and them, they'll tell you they ain't never been to Africa. They've never been to Africa in their life. They'll tell you that you got some cousins in New York, some cousins in Philly, but not no goddamn Ghana, not overseas. See how I proved my point? You ain't got to put spit on a Q-tip. Oh, man, go ahead, brother.
And when we're dealing with them people from Ghana, because those names aren't even the original names. Those are the Akan people. Some say the Akan, whatever. I'm not gonna go through the pronunciations, but yeah, the Akan people. The Akan people went down to the island called Jamaica, and that's not even all of them. That's just a good bit of them. The Akan became the Jamaican. I already did it. My second biggest video ever was Jamaica Exposed. Go watch the video. This is no disrespect, but if we're going to tell the story, we're telling the whole thing, not a piece of it to make somebody look good.
Come on now. I'm showing y'all the information. Now watch this, and then we'll move on. They would also tell you in the slave narrative of the slavery story they give y'all that Negroes would run from the South, and where would they run to, Cron? They would run north.
Come on.
Why were they running north? Because they was from Philly, they was from Jersey, they was from Baltimore and Boston. They were from there, so they knew how to get back home. Okay, just like you take I-95 to go back home. If you're from New York, if you got stuck in Atlanta over the weekend, bro, you would be on your way. I gotta get back home. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta go back to New York. They knew. Now Africans didn't come over here trying to go to New York. They don't even what's New York, my brother. What is New York? They have to be taught that, okay? You are not from Africa. And if you are, God bless you. But the vast majority of so-called Negroes in North America are not from Africa. Titles like Negro, Black, Colored were placed on you by slaveholders in 1765. And it lasted, 1776, and it lasted to 1865. This is a new era in time. Islam?
Come on.
Let's move on. I just want to set the stage for y'all to understand that when Garvey came to North America, he didn't come down to the South. He went up north to New York because that's where the vast majority of islanders are from. They're from New York. All right. After he returned to Jamaica, he founded the UNIA in 1914 and 1916. What year did Noble Drew Ali get active? Who's older, Drew Ali or Marcus Garvey? Pardon me for a minute, but I gotta use the bathroom.
It was Noble Drew Ali started his thing in 1913, which for me has always been a little bit confusing, because as the Moors say, and I being one of them, I don't mind. Crumb, what are you? I'm everything, family. I'm everything, because it all comes from us. And if you think it doesn't all come from us and you want to give somebody else credit, more power to you. But I know it all comes from us. So, my brothers and sisters within the Moorish Science Temple will tell you Marcus Garvey is the harbinger. And I have no problem with that. Fine, no problem. But the Moors, we know that they're very, they're sticklers. We're not black. We're not Negro. We're not colored. Fine, no problem. I don't mind that either. But if you're going to say Marcus Garvey was the harbinger, and he's out here calling himself black, Negro and colored, and he was the one who kind of put you guys on. It just seems a little bit contradictory. You know, that's like McDonald's telling you their forerunners to the burger was the vegan movement. All right, fine, but the vegan movement says, yeah, no meat, and then you're saying this whole meat movement came out of that. So for me, it's just a little bit contradictory. Just a little bit. I yield the floor. Brother, if you
Okay.
go, yeah, there you go.
I'm good. All right, so listen, I just wanted to make that distinction to understand Noble Ali and Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey said to be the harbingers. I'm giving y'all the dates, location. The best way to deal with people when you're having a debate or a conversation is to always put them in time and space. I can't stress it enough, brother. You got to put them in time and space, when it happened and where it happened. Here's a perfect example right here. We're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, the African diaspora, the Back to African movement, which we're going to deal with right now, which Garvey was a huge proponent for the Back to Africa movement because rightfully so, they're from Africa. Rightfully so, Jamaicans and Trinidadians and who else is down there? I'm sorry, no disrespect. Any of the British Islanders, they're mostly from Africa. Now, there were a group of people also called Caribs, but the Caribs by number were destroyed in war. The Caribs fought back. They didn't have guns. They didn't have what they call fire sticks, as the native called them. They didn't have weapons of mass destruction back then. So a lot of the Caribs, who were also akin to the Arawak, okay, the Arawak and the Caribs did a lot of trade, or what they call Boiquano or Taino. The Taino and Arawak and what we call the Raccoon people, or the Mississippians, okay, who later became the Yamacraw and Yamansi later, or later became the not the Oshitush, but the Wichita. All these people were already here. So people like Garvey, his kinfolk, actually from Africa. So what Garvey was doing, he was ushering a Back to Africa movement for those who were from Africa. That's why he didn't come to the South with that bullshit. He didn't come to Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi with no. And we're about to talk about W.B. Du Bois in a minute also. He didn't come to the South with that shit. Take your ass up north with that riffraff. Don't come down here with that, buddy. Because we know we engines down here. Don't come down here with that. All right. So although he never visited go ahead, bro.
Brother, I see that we just hit the 200 viewer mark. I wanted to apologize to you and the listening audience, and also to those who are going to catch this later. I wanted to ask, do you think it's okay if you finish this up without me? You know, you are the high priest and the master teacher. I think you're
yeah, I'm gonna be up another 15, 20 minutes. I got you.
I wanted to tell the listening audience, please hit that like button wherever you're watching this at. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, go get your tickets. You see the Cash App at the bottom, money sign Chef JJ. He's teaching, family. You know that you paid $20,000 in tuition and they didn't give you an iota. Divine Nine, all these Greeks, they didn't give you an iota of what the minister's giving you. Support him, support the platform. Go over to his channel as well. There's, you know, they're trying to silence him, but you know, go over to his channel as well. Minister of Information on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, family. I want to leave y'all the exact same way I came to you. I'm your humble brother Crumb. You are now watching Crumb TV. Thank you so much, Minister. Continue to do great things. Peace and love, family. I'm out.
Peace and light, peace and love to Brother Crumb. So listen, y'all, we're gonna finish up this thing, man, in good style. All right. So let's continue to what do you say? I enjoy, but when it goes into further info, you lose me. I got you. So Back to Africa movement, arguing that the part of the diaspora should migrate there. Garvey's ideas became increasingly popular in the UNIA, grew in membership. However, the Black separatists, who are the Black separatists? The Black separatists is a separatist political movement that seeks separation seeks separate economic and cultural development for those of African descent in society, and particularly in the United States. Black separatism stems from the idea of racial solidarity, and it also implies that Black people should organize themselves. I want to read this some more right here. Should organize themselves on the basis of their common experience and oppression as a result of their race, culture, and African heritage. They were a total of 255 Black separatist groups recorded in the United States as of 2019. Black separatists in purest form asserts that Black and whites ideally should form two independent nations. This is what Malcolm X was teaching. This is what was happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is what happened in Weeksville, New York. This is what happened in North Carolina. They were separate societies of both so-called Negroes and then so-called white folks, Europeans, had their own separate societies. Black side of town, white side of town, Black folks thriving, getting money, got their own airports. Everything that Tulsa had, this is what this stood for right here. And you see in a minute what the issue was with trying to return back to Africa and just abandoning all the hard work we've done here for what? We're not even from there. We've never been there. Hell, Garvey hadn't been to Africa. At this point, Marcus Garvey has never stepped foot in Africa at all. I'll go back and show you in a second. He hadn't even been to Africa yet. But he's promoting a Black agenda to go back to Africa. I'm going to show you why in a second. Black separatists in its purest assert that Blacks and whites ideally should form two separate nations. Independent nations. Additionally, Black separatists often seek to return to original homeland of Africa. Some did, as we can see. Back to Africa movement. You're going to keep seeing this over and over. I'm going to show you why. Was a widespread belief among some European Americans. Go back to Africa. Because they also were taught the same thing. Like a lot of white people didn't know that we were already here. A lot of white folks didn't know about the Yamansi and Yomacraw and the Coweta and the Pamunkey and the Wampanoag, and the Oshitush, and Nashitush, and Wichita. A lot of white people didn't know. They don't have, to this day, they just don't know about that situation. They never heard of it. So a lot of education had got to be disseminated amongst the people. This sentiment was spearheaded by Marcus Garvey in the UNIA in the 1920s. You're going to continue to see only between the late 1800s and the mid 1930s, all the way to the 70s, these diaspora of Black movements seeking to identify themselves culturally with something or another. Because at this time, this was the Great Awakening. Okay, this is why Noble Drew Ali came when he came in the 20s, saying that you are not Negro, you're not Black folk, you're not color folk. At least Noble Drew Ali was putting us up on game about who we really were. And in our national heritage to the vast estate of the shores of North America. Now, where the Moors from the Berber Moor story got intermixed with our story here, I don't know. That's a whole nother topic. But at least Noble Drew Ali was telling us that we're not Black, we're not color folk, we're not Negro. Those are all labels given to you by slaveholders in 1776, and it lasts 1865. This is a new era in time where you must proclaim your free national name and worship under your own vine and fig tree. So on and so forth. Okay. All right. Why this back to Africa movement? Let's move on. Why this gloomy? Now I'm gonna say gloomy. Why this back to Africa movement? Well, remember earlier when I told you that well, let's go here first. Write this down because it's gonna help you out. And if this is your first time watching me lecture or teach, family, take notes. I'm not here to convince you or persuade you. I'm not here to argue with you or debate with you. I only debate my equals. Everybody else I teach. Rest in peace to Dr. John Henry Clark for that statement. But I'm not here to debate your ideologies or what you feel. What you feel is relevant. I want you to take my notes and then you go take your notes and you just compare notes. This way, this information becomes something we both know and not what you heard. Islam? All right. Now, listen to the dates, family. Hold on. Let's go back to here because I want to, and this is how you study, okay? You don't just study one thing, all right? So we're gonna get to W.B. Du Bois in a second. Let's find out when Garvey Remember, he went to England. Garvey went to England. He went to Panama and Costa Rica. Okay. So let's see what he learned in England. This is not the same era, but let's find out what the notion comes from. The American Colonized Society. Ever heard of that one? This is before the UNIE. The American Colonization Society, initially a society for colonized of free people of color of America in 1837. We're not talking about Garvey in 19 nothing. We're talking Garvey wasn't even born until 1887. This is before Garvey is even born. This is before Garvey is even born, that they already had a society trying to move Negroes out of North America, off their land, back over there.
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Something ain't right. Something is not right. This was already happening. Have you guys ever heard of the ACS? I'm not talking about the UNIC. Let's find out what the ACS was about. Initially, a society for the colonization of free people of color of America until 1837. Was an American organization founded in 1816. When was Garvey born? 1887. This is about a good 60-something years before Garvey was even born. Somebody was already trying to take you back to the shores of Africa for some reason. Let's find out why, though. The American organization founded in 1816 by Robert Fleming to encourage and support the migration of free-born blacks, free people of color. Let's learn about the free people of color. You all were not slaves. See, this is the this is the part where we have to understand, if they did not treat you right, they're not going to teach you right. If they didn't treat you right, they're not going to teach you right. How many of y'all ever heard of free people of color? See, the free people of color and the Freedmen's Bureau, two different situations. The Freedmen's Bureau was actually founded and propagated by free Negroes to help other free Negroes, like the movie 12 Years a Slave. He was a free Negro who was held captive. Remember? Let's read on. In context, the history of slavery in America's free people of color were primarily people of mixed African, European, and Native American descent who were not enslaved. See right here? This is you. Native American descents who were never slaves. Ever. Didn't pick no cotton. Didn't get beat nowhere. This was a small section of American history that they blew up to make you think everybody with black skin was getting beat and picking cotton. Not true at all. Who were primarily of black African descent with little mixture. You had Africans here who never been enslaved. Didn't deal with slavery. Were never picking cotton. The story they telling y'all is jacked up, man. That's why I'm trying to get you information now, okay? All right, freeborn and emancipated slaves to Africa. Don't be caught up by this name, emancipated. Okay, don't get caught up with emancipation means what? A transfer of property. Don't let that get you. Okay. To the continent of Africa, it was modeled on a early British colonization in Africa, which had sought to resettle London's poor black. Where did he go? He went to Europe. Then he came back in 1914. 1914. He came back from England in 1914 with the idealisms of the UNIA. Where did the UNIA get its roots from? Who taught the good brother Marcus Garvey about this information? Here we go. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. Let's listen. We about to get it. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with who Garvey got the idea from. And let's read about this brother right here. This is the brother you need to be knowing about right here. And I'm going to show you another brother you should be knowing too. Put my background music on while I talk to y'all, because this is how I want to do business. All right. This is Deuce Muhammad Ali, family. Deuce Muhammad Ali was a Sudanese Egyptian actor and political activist. You're going to continue to see words like political politics. I told you that earlier. He's an activist. I'm going to show you another activist as well. All right. 1866 to 1945, the Sudanese Egyptian political activist who became known as what? African what? Nationalism. African nationalism. Now keep him in mind, okay? Keep Deuce Muhammad Ali in mind. Also, keep this in mind. Then we're going to talk about Marcus Garvey and Back to Africa movement and where he get the shit from in the first place, Back to Africa. He's not a Pan-Africanist. He was a pawn. I'm going to show you in a minute. Stay with me. Hold on. This is Muhammad Ali. He was also a playwright, historian, a journalist, an editor, and a publisher. In 1912, he founded the African Times and the Orient Review. Later, he revived as the African and Orient Review, which published totally through the 1920s. He lived, worked mostly where? In England, alongside the United States and Nigeria, respectively. In a latter location, he founded the Comic Press in Lagos. Why am I showing you England again? Why am I showing you these dates again? Why the hell am I showing you Deuce Muhammad Ali when we're talking about Marcus Garvey? Y'all already see it, don't you? The young Marcus Garvey, then studying where? Where was Marcus Garvey studying? In motherfucking Europe. Who did he meet while he was in motherfucking Europe? Deuce Muhammad Ali. Watch this now. From Jamaica. He frequently visited who? He sat at the feet of Deuce Muhammad Ali at Fleet Street office and was mentored by who? Marcus Garvey was mentored by him. Deuce Muhammad Ali mentored Marcus Garvey. Deuce Muhammad Ali was the first one to even come out with the idea of what? African nationalism, Pan-Africanism. I'm showing you the man. If y'all don't drop something in my Cash App, man. If y'all don't give me $2 or something, I'm teaching today. I'm teaching today. Happy Holy Day, Moors. Islam. The truth should never fade nor pass away. Islam. He learned from him. He learned from him. Marcus Garvey learned from Deuce Muhammad Ali. The idea of Pan-Africanism comes from Deuce Muhammad Ali. Who else learned from Deuce Muhammad Ali? I wonder. Who else learned from him? Where was Deuce Muhammad Ali from? He was a Sudanese Egyptian actor. All students, I repeat, all students have a teacher. All students must have a teacher. Okay. Watch this. Stay with me. Check this out now. All students have teachers. All students have teachers. Y'all remember that third grade awakening we was talking about? Who taught him? He's a student. If he's a student, who's the teacher? This is the teacher from Egypt. He's the student being taught. This is why you always have Marcus Messiah Garvey and Noble Drew Ali running in tangent in your conversations because they both learned from the teacher. Now, see, me personally, okay, this is just me personally. This is not the opinion of Crumb TV Network, right? I would rather learn from the master and not from the student. The same reason some Christians deal with Jesus. I want to worship what Jesus worshiped. I don't want to worship him. He's just a conduit. What did he worship? All right. So let's learn more about the teacher. And if you don't think that Deuce Muhammad Ali is his teacher, I can show you that too. Because I'm not here to play games with nobody. I'm here to speak truth to power. And if you can't handle the truth, then excuse yourself. Okay? Excuse yourself. This is not an emotional situation. This is just me showing y'all the information. If you don't like it, It's okay. So y'all niggas are fucking exposing him for going to college in London. He didn't go to college in London. What college you saw me point out he went to college to? He's not being exposed for anything. The truth is being let out. And if you're Pan-Africans, Mr. Brown, Mrs. Brown, whoever you are, then that's cool too. This is information. Do with it what you please. This is just information. Let's move on. Marcus Garvey. This is the teacher of Marcus Garvey. This is the person that was first in line with African nationalism. Deuce Muhammad. Prior. Why is he not mentioned? Nowhere in your history books. Why don't you even know who he is? A lot of y'all don't know who he is. Now I feel like you're trolling, Mr. Brown, Mrs. Brown, whoever you are, respectfully. Okay, if you say fuck Islam and Jesus, that's totally your right to do that. Okay, I'm just asking that you just listen to what I'm telling you. You have to believe. You can log off at this point because you're being disruptive. Okay, and on my personal channel, I don't even have characters like you on my personal channel. Okay, I don't even have you on my channel at all. What did a good brother say? I thought Farad learned that stuff from a black dude named Lima and Cap. Listen, WD Farad actually learned under Noble Jew Ali. He actually learned under Noble Jew Ali. Get it out under Noble Jew Ali. Farad Deuce Muhammad. If I can pull it up, let me see. And this is no stab at anybody. I want y'all be upset over nothing. Y'all be upset over the truth. Who cares who taught these people? Y'all should just know who taught them. That's all. I can't blow the picture up no bigger, but that's Farad Muhammad right here. Just can get a better picture of that. This right here is Farad Muhammad right here. Under the instructions of Noble Jew Ali. Again, it's just information. Y'all do what you want to do with it. Missing information equals misinformation. I don't even know what you're even talking about. Honestly, I don't even know what you're talking about. Soro, nobody. I have no idea what you're talking about right now. All right. Coffee brand. Yeah, I'm in the chat now. Nigger scholarship is not real scholarship. All right. He learned under Noble Jew Ali, and Elijah learned under Farad Muhammad and created Nation of Islam. Absolutely. Everybody got a teacher, y'all. Back to the lesson. Let's go with the Pan-African Congress. Did y'all know about the Pan-African Congress in 1945? Marcus Garvey, 1914, 1916, when he moved to New York to establish a branch. Keep this in mind. Please. Keep this in mind as we talk about the Pan-African Congress. In nearly half a century between 1900 and 1945, remember now, this was also during the Great Awakening, the Third and Fourth Great Awakening. Here we go again. Here's that buzzword. Politics. Various political leaders and intellectuals from Europe, North America, and Africa met 6 times to discuss colonial control of Africa and develop strategies of eventually African political liberation. In the article that follows, historian Shiat, I can't say his name, describes the goals of achieving of these 6 Pan-African Congress and assessing their impact on Africa. Pan-Africanist ideals emerged in the late 19th century and responded to European colonialism and the exploitation of Africa continent. Pan-Africanist philosophy held that slavery and colonialism depended on the encouraged negative, unfounded categorization of the race, culture, and values of African people. These destructive beliefs, in turn, gave birth to the intensified form of racism that likes of which Pan-Africanism sought to eliminate. As a broader political concept, Pan-Africanism roots lies in the collective experience of African descendants in the New World. Africa assumed greater significance for some blacks in the New World for two primary reasons. First, increasingly futility of their campaign of racial equality in the United States led some African Americans to demand voluntary reparations to Africa. Next, for the same time, term Africans, which had often been used by racists as a derogatory description, became a source of pride for early black nationalists. So on, and so forth. Write down the Pan-African Congress and research the Pan-African Congress, please. Because I don't think nowhere you ever heard of the Pan-African Congress of 1945. I don't think that many of you have ever done the research on the ACS either, which we're going to get back on right now. The American Colonization Society was established to address the prevailing view of free people of color could not integrate into the U.S. society. Their population had grown steadily following the American Revolution, 1776. Labels put on you from 1776 and last until about this time right here, that you were this right here. Watch this now. From 60,000 in 1790 to 300,000 by the 1830s. Slave owners feared that these free blacks might help their slaves to escape or rebel. Now, this is an interesting concept. They said the free people of color could not integrate into U.S. society. Free people of color could not integrate into U.S. society. The term person of color is primarily used to describe a person who is not considered white. Now, white people don't, the term white comes by a directive of an individual named Johann Blumenbacher. The term Caucasian, White itself got its origins in 1779 during what was called the Naturalization Act. In its current meaning, the term originated and primarily associated with the United States. However, since 2010, it has been adopted elsewhere. The term white. The American Colonization Society was established to address the prevailing view of free people of color, not slaves, not Africans, could not integrate into U.S. society. Their population had grown steadily following the American Revolution from 60,000 to about 300,000 in 1830. Slave owners feared that these free blacks, which are separate from their slaves, this is a whole other society of Negroes that we've never seen the likes of. These are not Africans. These are not slaves. Who are these free black folk? Who are y'all? To lead, escape, or rebel. In addition, many white Americans believe that African Americans were inherently inferior. Therefore, they should be relocated. Now, these folks right here are not these people right here. We just talked about two different distinct groups of people, which history does not let you know. They think you're all one big group of people. Everybody, your skin folks ain't your kin folks. All right? Free people of color were feared by white folks in America. The numbers had grew from the Revolutionary War to 60,000 to 300,000. Slave owners who owned slaves. So the slaves and the free blacks are not even the same individuals in this conversation. These are two different groups of people. Did you catch that? In addition, many whites believe that African Americans were inherently inferior and therefore should be relocated. White folks been talking about sending you somewhere. Been talking. Now, the people of color weren't gonna go nowhere. And the free people of color, who was a prevalent group in America that were grown, who were educated, free, never been as slaves. This is what's gonna lead us over to this here in a second when we get to it. Hold on. The conversation we're having right now is about to take us over to him, because this is the group of Negroes who were not hearing that shit. We'll talk about it in a minute. Hold on. Let me get back to what I was doing. The free blacks. The African American community in the abolitionist movement, these are abolitionists, this is a political group, overwhelmingly opposed the project. In most cases, African American families had lived in the United States for generations. For generations. The African American community in the abolitionist movement overwhelmingly opposed this idea of Pan-Africanism going back to Africa. They did not want this shit to happen. Like, what? No, wait a minute. For what? Why are we going back to Africa? Go back to what? We're not even from there. In most cases, African American families had lived in the United States for generations. And their prevalent sentiments was that they were no more African than white Americans were European. You see that? Nobody was even with that crap, man. Nobody. This is the 1830s. This is way prior to Garvey even being born. That you had a rift in the so-called Negro community that we're not even from Africa. We're not going back over there. And the abolitionist movement, who were a political group, the United States abolitionists, the movement that sought to end slavery in the country, was active from the late colonial era until the American Civil War, the end of which brought abolitionists of American slavery through the 13th Amendment in the United States. Abolitionists were a political movement. The African American community. So basically, we have established the fact that nobody was with that about the African shit back then. Nobody was for it. Nobody was with it. Nobody was for it. Let's keep going. Contrary to the claim, their immigration was voluntary. Contrary to the claim that their immigration was voluntary, many African Americans, both free and enslaved, were pressured into immigrating. They were pressured into doing it. Pressured. Indeed, enslavers like this joker right here sometimes manumitted or freed their slaves on the condition that they're freedom to leave the country immediately. If you don't know what manumitted means, or manumission, there's a word called meritorious manumission, and manumission basically means set free. Prince Hall was manumitted. You have the word manumitted, you have emancipated, and you have liberated, right? Manumitted is a condition typically the slave owner lets you go free for some other thing you did well, from some good deed. It's called meritorious manumission. But slave owners were actually convincing their slaves, hey, I'll let you free if you go back to Africa. If you want to go back, I'll let you go. This is before Garvey. According to the historian Mark Lepson, colonization proved to be a giant failure, doing nothing to stem the forces that brought nations to civil war. Between 1821 and 47, only a few thousand African Americans out of a million immigrated to what become Liberia. That's it. A few thousand African Americans wanted to go back to Africa. This is before Marcus Garvey. By 1833, the society had transported 2,769 individuals out of the U.S., while increasing the black population in the U.S. during the same years was about 500,000. According to Z. Kingsley, the cost of transportation, the black population of the United States of Africa would exceed annual revenue of the country. They couldn't afford to do it. They couldn't afford to send Negroes back to Africa, and a lot of people didn't want to go anyway, because a lot of Negroes in America had already said that we're no more African than white Americans are European. Not even from there. Do we see that? And this is called the American Colonization Society. before Garvey. And let's go back to Pan-Africanism, because see, what I'm doing is the idea of Garvey and Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is its own political situation that was started before Garvey even got here. Going back to Africa was already in process before Garvey even got here. Pan-Africanism ideals emerged in the late 19th century in response to European colonialism to exploit the African continent. Pan-Africanist philosophy held that slavery, it's the same thing we just read a second ago, right? Who was the king of Pan-Africanism? The first African-born prime minister of Ghana, Kwame, whatever his name is, was a prominent Pan-African organization in the 50s. Who was the founder of Pan-African movement? This is the founder of the Pan-African movement, not Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey is not the founder of Pan-Africanism, nor did Marcus Garvey, nor did Marcus Garvey even teach African nationalism. According to what is written, Garvey had never even been to the fucking continent. Let me show you. Although he never visited the continent, he was committed to a Back to African movement. What got him to commit to that, I wonder? Who got him to commit to that, I wonder? We're about to get to W.B. Du Bois in a second. Stay with me. This is the father. The Pan-African Congress, PAC, was founded by Robert M., whatever that name is right there, South Africa, in 1959. Let's go into the Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's get off Google for a minute, yeah? Pan-African movement dedicated to establish independence for African nations and cultivate unity amongst Black people throughout the world. It originated in a conference held in London. Remember who was in London? Your boy was in London, remember that? 1900s, 1919, 1921, and 23. Do these years look familiar? In other cities, W.E.B. Du Bois was a principal early leader. The important Sixth Pan-African Conference in Manchester in 1945 included these people. The first truly intergovernmental conference was held in this place in Ghana in 58. So we can almost gather that the Pan-African movement, about the African movement, was a global political or heavily politicized movement prior to Marcus Garvey. Garvey laid forth the vision for the new world, a world where all people of African origin on every continent were united, self-sufficient, and proud. It was the manifestation of the idea known as Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism. Garvey began to develop this broad sense of the world at an early age. And I do hope that you guys or let's say, why so much hate on African people and culture? This nigga is spreading lies like a motherfucker. Coffee, let me tell you something. Khalifi, Mr. Brown. I'm not sure who you are, Mr. Brown, but over here on Chrome Network, we don't allow the use of that word. We don't allow distractions from the likes of individuals like yourself. So, with that being said, Mr. we just gonna dismiss you, brother, okay, or sister, whoever you are, trolling. And as a matter of fact, let's do this right here. Mr. Carver's in timeout. Let's get rid of him. He causing distraction. Garvey did teach. I'm not saying Garvey didn't teach anything. See, here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing. When you present it with new information, the number one thing you can do is take into consideration. If the information is not jiving with what you know, then cool. Write it down. Do your own research. I can't stress this shit enough to y'all. Go do your own research. I'm not here to convince you, Mr. Colby Brown, whoever else out here. I'm not here to convince y'all or persuade y'all at all. What I'm simply saying is Marcus Garvey is not the father of Pan-Africanism. A lot of people get emotional when you talk about people like Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, and Jesus. I just gave you the first introduction of what was considered to be that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything against Marcus Garvey. I'm not saying anything against Noble Drew Ali. I'm not saying anything against none of these Negro leader guys. What I'm asking you to do is to go research, one, who taught them the information. This stuff matters. Marcus Garvey wasn't born with the idea of Pan-Africanism. I'm showing you people who were doing this shit before Garvey was even born. Now, was Garvey influenced and taught by individuals prior to the idea of? Yes, he was. Was the idea of Negroes going back to Africa already established well before Garvey was born? Of course it was. Was this all a political ploy? Of course it was. Who had issue with the politics of what Garvey was teaching? Many of you have heard of W.E.B. Du Bois. Many of you have heard of Booker T. Washington. But did y'all know that they had a beef? Did y'all know this stuff? Like beefing, like literally public debate shit, like in real news, what was going on. Like W.E.B. Du Bois was definitely, you see this right here, at odds. Booker T. Washington at odds with what Garvey was teaching. A lot of people took issue with what Garvey was teaching because people like W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, and so forth, they said that we can build right here. We're from here. Why we got to go over there and do anything? Because going back to Africa was a whole political movement. It was a political ploy by white colonists to get Negroes out of America. Because at the end, around 1886 to about 1935, the population had exploded with Negroes. This is why in the 1920s, watch this, show y'all something. This is why in the 1920s and before, y'all see this right here happening. Y'all see them flooding America with Europeans because of the population of Negroes. They had to do something to get y'all up out of here. Also in the 1920s, you know what else? Eugenics. This was also happening in the 1920s, late 1800s. Eugenics. They had to get rid of y'all. It was too many y'all over here. So along with eugenics and exporting you back to Africa, which you've never been before. That's why the number was so low, 2,000 people. Millions of Negroes brought out of Africa to America. Only 2,000 wanted to go back. This is in the night. Let me show y'all. Watch this. Where's it at? First of all, the population had blew up from 60 to 300,000 of you free niggas. Between 21 and 47, only a few thousand African Americans out of millions went back to Liberia. This is in 1847. By 1833, they transported 2,700 people out of millions. Why only that small amount of number? This is Tulsa. 1921. I'm going to keep showing y'all the timeline because none of y'all want to take time to study fucking timelines. It's a part of history. If you started the 1800s, like I just showed y'all, the third and fourth great awakening went from the 1800s all the way to 1970 something. Study the second, third, and fourth great awakening, those time periods. The late 1800s, the Civil War ended. You're going to see Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 20s. You're going to see the second great migration of Negroes coming out of the South, going up north. You're going to see eugenics. You're going to see the ideal of pseudoscience, aka racism, inferiority complex going to be taught. A lot of shit got taught between 1865, Reconstruction of the South, which is reconstructing history. They weren't building anything. Nothing got built in 66, 67, 68, 69. They were reconstructing the history. Then they hit you with eugenics. Then they hit you with Ellis Island. Then they hit you with all this other information. Then here come Garvey. Garvey didn't even come into 1916. Why he didn't go to Tulsa, Oklahoma? Why didn't Garvey go to Tulsa? Tulsa was thriving in 1916. That would have been like the perfect base camp for Negro improvement in America, was Tulsa. Why didn't he link up with W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, who were doing phenomenal great things in America? Why did he go to New York? What was in New York? Who was in New York? Why did this Back to African movement not do so well for Garvey? Why didn't it do so well earlier on? Could it be because you're not from Africa? You're from here? Let's find out the beef between Garvey and W.B. Du Bois. And then I'm going to take my leave. Although Garvey and Du Bois were both Pan-African, there were little love lost between them. Their differences mainly was ideological. Garvey concentrated on the needs of everyday Black person, while W.E.B. Du Bois dwelt and worked more in elite circles. What elite circles are they talking about? Remember these folks right here? This is who W.E.B. Du Bois worked with. Now I'm about to flip the script on W.E.B. Du Bois. Just bring the truth about everybody. Just say Du Bois. I'm not saying that all over again. Du Bois. Watch this. Boule Society. Stay with me. The fraternity, often referred to as Grand Boule, meaning Council of Noblemen, is considered to be the first African-American Greek letter organization among fraternity, where more prominent members were Martin Luther King, W.E.B. Du Bois, Arthur Ashe, Ralph Buchanan, and Verona Jordan. Okay? So when we say this, free people of color, and the fact that Du Bois only wanted to work with elite circles, we're talking about this group right here, Boule Society. Garvey was for, W.E.B. Du Bois were for, let me go back. Who do y'all think were doing prominent, great things in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1920s? Because we have to be honest with ourselves and understand that yeah, okay, you're right. Hold on. Okay, I'm glad he said this right here too. Hold on. You're right. Brother Garvey's main purpose to come to America was to meet Booker T. Washington, and he did not want to meet with W.E.B. Du Bois because W.E.B. Du Bois wanted Uncle Tom. I'm sure. No, he wanted Uncle Tom. And see, I don't have time, but it's stuff like this we have to understand. You haven't read or watched Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom was actually a Negro who was helping people out. He was not the person that we think in our mind. We say Uncle Tom, a fake Black person, or trying to be white, or whatever the case is. That wasn't who Uncle Tom was. Go read The Red Road East. Go read Uncle Tom's Cabin, and then let's have a conversation after you go read it. And stop parakeeting what we've heard. We got to stop parakeeting stuff we heard without doing the research. You come across a person like me, I'm going to challenge that foolishness, all right? But you are right. Garvey did want to come over to America to meet with Booker T. Washington. He did. That is absolutely true. That meeting happened or not, I don't know. But with W.E.B. Du Bois were not hearing that shit. Okay. W.E.B. Du Bois was focusing on us, black folks. It's the same thing we do today here in Atlanta. Atlanta is an entire boule city. This is Atlanta. Okay. Let me go to the picture real quick. This is Atlanta. This is also Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 1920s. This is also North Carolina. Okay. This is any prominent so-called Negro community that was doing well for themselves. They were well-educated, well-off-to-do individuals. Now, the Sigma Phi fraternity is not the subject matter at all. The founders of Sigma Phi fraternities, I challenge you to go do your research on these individuals, not the fraternity itself, because I'm not an advocate for any Greek society at all. I don't like the Greeks like that to be propagating and putting stamps on my body. But go do a brief study on these individuals, these society, because these were also the members here. These were also your first Black Congress members too. They were also part of the Boule Society. They were also the prominent Negroes who W.E.B. Du Bois sprang from in the late 1870s. This right here is Hiram Revels. He's the first Black senator, Mississippi. He also finished the term of Jefferson Davis, who was the first president of the South. Did you know that? Did he sit with Jefferson Davis? This brother right here? All of these brothers are intricate leaders at that time. And we ain't got time tonight to talk about why the Black vote was so important at that time period as well. This is 1870. Slavery just ended 5 years prior to that. Let's say 4.5 years prior, depending on what month this was. 4.5 years ago, slavery just ended. You got all these Negroes. Look how they dress. Look at what they got on. Let's go here, man. Let's go back to Tulsa. Show y'all something, man. And again, we're just dealing with the time periods, family. The time periods. (1920s). We're not poor at all. And you got to forget, I'm trying. Okay, here we go right here. Here we go. So these pictures right here, that's not George Washington. Yeah, this is George Washington Carver right here. It's George Washington Carver. These people all come from these people. Let's read about the free blacks again. The free blacks and emancipated slave, two different people. People of color. The people of color were the free-born blacks, never been a slave. People of color. The American Colonization Society was established to address the prevailing view that free people of color could not integrate into U.S. society. Their population had grown from the Revolutionary War to about 1830s. They did not want to go into black society. This brother right here, W.E.B. Du Bois, knew they can have their own society. This is what Tulsa, Oklahoma was about. The folks of Tulsa, like, we're not going back to Africa. We can do our own thing. We can build our own train station, build our own airports, our own schools. Look at how they dress. They wasn't for that. My point is, W.E.B. Du Bois represented this. W.E.B. Du Bois represents this. And whether you like it or not, you represent this. You represent being prosperous in America too, do you not? Support Black businesses, Black Lives Matter. Nobody on this live that I know of, I'm aware of, has any plans. If you are, type, I don't know, type 11111 or whatever in the comments if you have any plans to move permanently back to Africa anytime soon. Anybody? Anybody planning to go back to Africa anytime soon? Red Rose East. He called me a lightweight. Okay. I taught this stuff before you were born. You need to study more. Uncle Tom is just a figure of speech. Du Bois was promoting a color cast light-skinned leadership. Red Rose East, respectfully, what the fuck are you talking about? In fact, Red Rose East, I got a couple of minutes. If you put your email in the comment, Red Rose East, I'll send you an invite to come on the live with me right now. If that's what you want to do. Because I taught this shit years ago too. This is a refresher course. You don't know me, and I don't know you either. But what I will not tolerate is disrespect. If you have anything to add of value, give me your email address right now in the comment, and I will add you to this live feed so you can give your portion of understanding to the audience. That's what you can do. Or just be quiet, respectfully. This is to Red Rose East. Give me your email address right now. Put it in the comment. Put your email so I can copy paste and send you an invite. Because I don't play this internet shit. I leave it to everybody else. I'm a lightweight. Come on up here with me. And see if they realize people watching this are at different levels of understanding. This is not even the advanced class. Red Rose East, this is not even the advanced class. This is actually the 101 class. Impromptu. Well, I'm not going to let the trolls keep stopping the class, but I'm going to call them on their bullshit. Give me your email address right now and come on the live. Let's talk. These fucking clowns, man. Anywho, W.E.B. Du Bois come from this society right here. Now, I'm not for W.E.B. Du Bois. I'm not for Garvey. I'm presenting information. You can always tell when the information is hidden because people get upset. People are getting upset. They get in their feelings. Like a motherfucker, boy. Ooh-wee. All right. How did the views of Marcus Garvey differ from Booker T. Washington? Although both men believed that working hard would gain Black advantage in their communities, Washington advocated for satisfying the white man, while Garvey thought of Black nationalism lied in separate rights of Black in keeping the white man out of their way to succeed. There was a difference between Marcus Garvey and Washington. I'm waiting on their email. Red Rose. Ooh, let's talk about this real quick. Marcus Garvey movement fell apart because it was too lofty and because it faced several criticisms, not only from whites, but from Blacks as well. Now I'm about to show you how Black people were not fucking with Garvey. I'm going to show y'all this. Garvey was calling for all Black people of African descent to unite and unseat colonialism. A lot of Black folk weren't feeling that shit. A lot of Black folk was not feeling this at all, period. Okay, let's continue real quick. How was Marcus Garvey viewed after civil rights? How did Marcus Garvey view the civil rights different from the other African American leaders of his day, such as Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois? Garvey wanted a complete separation of races, while W.E.B. Du Bois and Washington wanted to accept discrimination and evaluate themselves with hard work. That was the big difference. Now let's talk about something else real quick. Let's change the pace for a second. I happened to come across this video, and yeah, you already know. You already know. Kick him out the classroom. Hey, what we doing? Kick him out the classroom. I don't have time for all that disruptive stuff, family. And he won't show up. He won't show up at all. You see, he stopped commenting. Double dog dare you to give me your email address, and I'll send you an invite right now and come join me on the platform. Crickets. And see, this is why, or part of the reason, and I'll share with y'all. Hold on, let me do this right quick. And I'll share this directly with y'all, family. This is part of the reason that I am hated by some and loved by most. I'm not up on this platform every single day spewing my guts. I'm not up on this platform doing anything outlandish, outstanding. In fact, I don't put my time in teaching before this thing was even live streaming, in person. And Crom can contest to that. So what I'm not used to is disruption. And I know this is screaming across multiple platforms, including my platform, but I'm not used to y'all call them trolls. In a classroom, we consider them to be dunce. We put a dunce hat on them and put them in the corner. And I'll go into the history of the dunce in a minute. Wait, say I left my email. Stop lying. Where? Where's your email at? Red Road. I'm about to scroll this whole chat, and I don't see your ass giving me an email. You left this at 7:33, and there's nothing else in the chat with your email on it. But yet you just comment. Put your email here right now. Come on, let's go. Everybody encourage Red Rose East to hop in the chat real quick. Hop on the live with me. All I need is your email address. Come on. Matter of fact, he'll help you out. Place your email here. There we go. Now, I just sent that to you from all the platforms. Put your email in here. Come on. Come on, Cletus. Come on, Cletus. Let's go. I don't even debate. I want this smoke. And everything, and I'll be fair, everything you point out, I make sure I pull it up and show receipts of what you're saying. But first, you have to establish what have I said in this whole situation that was a lie. It may have been new information, unheard of information. I don't quite believe that information, but what did I say that was wrong and incorrect? And I ain't even say it. I'm just showing y'all the reference points. Because anybody know me that this is just information. I always say that. And as y'all can see, there's no email. He or she or whatever it is may come in again, but you guys see the chat. I see the whole chat. And there's nothing in here. Nothing. No email. Exactly. He can't. He can't do it again. Big time agent. It's easy to detect these people. They don't throw the whole energy off being disruptive because of the information that you guys are receiving. This is going to continue to happen. This is why it's going to be very, very important. And again, I can't stress it enough. See, when y'all show up here, for those of y'all that are coming, there will be no distractions or disruptions. It's just us, those who come to learn the information, outright information. Ain't gonna be nobody trolling when we there in person. This is why it's important to take part in these act. It ain't even going hard. I'm just scrolling internet, showing your internet shit that y'all can look up for yourselves. Okay, this is why it's important to get the tickets, get the live stream tickets, check us out, because there will be no distractions and no disruptions at this session. I'm gonna leave y'all with this right here. I'm gonna go into probably not the whole thing, probably about a good 2 minutes of it, right? And then I'm gonna I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it where it's at and let y'all be the judge. Here we go. Check it out. Hold up. Let me start it over.
Amy Ashford and Amy Chuck for
Ladies, pay attention to this right here. It's crazy. She calling him Captain Crunch. Oh, there's no sound. There's no sound the whole time. Hold on. Let me get the sound right. I'm just sitting here running it, man. I thought y'all can hear it. Hold on. My bad, fam. Audio, microphone array. All right, let's see if that works right there. Hold on. I'm gonna turn the mic up some, and I'm gonna run it back too.
Marcus Garvey.
Let me know if y'all can hear it or not now. I'll turn it up some more. Y'all can hear it.
Captain Crunch and Amy Ashford and Amy Chuck for
Cool, we got some. Can y'all hear the YouTube? Not me. Can y'all hear the YouTube video? Not me. They keep showing.
There you go. So I put the link, the link to this video in the chat. Or and this is again, this is not to run a characterization attack on Marcus Garvey. I just want you guys to know all the information about everybody, right? So the video link is in there. Check out the video link. Oh, you can hear it over on Facebook. Just can hear it, I guess, on YouTube. That's weird. But anyway, the link is provided. Check out this strange love affair that Marcus Garvey had going on, which in totality was a contributor to the rise and fall of his idea of Black nationalism. He actually bought a boat. It's called a Starline Cruiser, and I didn't get a chance to get into that to try to once again commandeer Negroes from America and sell them back across to Africa. So definitely take a look at it. Check out the link. The link been provided in the video. This has been very fun, but unfortunately, I got to take my leave. I appreciate y'all. Be sure to hit the Cash App. Got some coins. And yeah, check us out. June 16th through 18th, man. Get the tickets. Crumb.tv. I'm sorry. CrumbTV.info/events. Check us out. Tap in with us. Make the tickets. We are selling live stream tickets too. So if you can't make it, you can always get the live stream tickets. It's been fun. It's been fabulous. I appreciate it, y'all. Gratitude to everybody that tapped in. Gratitude to everybody that was holding me down in the chat, even though we had trolls and we had people acting weird in there. Blessings. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. Peace and light, peace and love. I appreciate y'all. Man, for real, for even tapping in and taking the time to listen. And again, it's just information. Do your own research. I don't have no pens or pad in front of me at all. I'm just giving y'all my portion of understanding. Islam and Allah gives everybody their own portion of understanding which is suitable unto him or her. It's just my portion of understanding. Okay, I'm not saying this is law. Do your own research. And the words of Dan Calloway, and I'm not around Dan Calloway dick at all. I think the brother, he's doing the work. So his research is unprecedented. He's catching a lot of flack right now. If anybody rocks with Dan Calloway, tell him M.O.I. appreciates him and love his material. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to get up on Dane's platform at some point. I never seen him host anybody. Well, he does, I guess, but I'm trying to get on Dane's platform. Get Dane over here. You got to do a collaborative effort. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. Because I haven't even went in on my whole Indigenous America, Native America piece yet. As I'm still researching that information, that's going to be mind blowing and hard for a lot of us to accept because we still on that out of Africa theory. We still dealing with the remnants of France Boas teaching us that we come out of Africa. But once you do the research, you'll find out different. So anyway, man, definitely. Only thing I learned that Marcus Garvey was a golden nugget for Black BT like swines. They couldn't recognize him as someone good for them. Y'all be lucky to have another Garvey. Well, good brother. Like I said, what I found is a lot of these Negro leaders were often held to high regards due to something of another nature that they've already, and it knew under the sun. That's my whole point of this presentation. Like, this information is already out there. People already had Pan-Africanism going on. Garvey was another instrument used in a political agenda. And one day I'll go into the political side of these movements, whether it be Garveyism or more Science Temple, or whether it be Nation of Islam, Fruits of Islam, 5 Nation Gods of the Earth. These are all political movements. That's why in every movement you always hear about infiltration. They were not infiltrated. The FBI was already there. The CIA was already there. Nothing goes on in America without a hidden hand involved. For those of y'all who honor Marcus Garvey, cool. That's what it is. That's another one we're gonna do too. We're gonna get him too. Yep. Y'all gonna get upset. We'll talk about Michael Luther King, not Martin Luther King. His name was we're gonna get on him too. We're gonna get on his head too. And that's what Negroes are looking for, another hero, another Jesus, somebody to come save them, something. But we're gonna get on all these unsung, these song heroes, not unsung heroes, but we're gonna put them all unsung and give you the whole story behind everybody. All right. Garvey is crying out. Yeah, it's okay. And they ain't even go in. For real. I ain't even go in. Everything said about him showed his heart to fight for Black future. Only set back when he was. You gotta make me do a whole other hour and show you what he really was about. This is what you're about to do. That wasn't even the whole plight of the situation at all. Look who came back, y'all. look who came back. Nobody has seen an email from this brother yet in the chat. Here, look, here, watch this. Look, there's my email right there. This is how it should look, Goofy. This is how it should look right here when you put your email in the chat. Look, he's still going. Well, y'all trip, man. All right, man. Peace and light, y'all. Peace and love. Until then, man. Until next time. Oh, we can get into him too. That's the thing. We can really get into all of them. For real. Y'all go in the chat. All right, man. Be sure to save it. Be sure to share it. Smash the subscribe button. If you're not already following me on Instagram, go to Instagram, Minister Informing. Appreciate y'all.
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, you heard?
Hello, everybody. Record